I'm gonna make a quick video on how I do transaxles, specifically Peerless MSTs. And this has another thing I'm doing too, I'll show too. So this, we'll look at the good one. This is a good shift key shaft here. You see it's nice and smooth, no rough edges on either end where the bushings ride. This is the one that came out of this transaxle. And keep in mind, this transaxle was actually overfilled on oil with Lucas, STP, and a whole bunch of gear oil. Right. This is what it did to the shaft. It is down to a taper. It is very rough. It's bad. And it rides right here in the case. And pretty much, you have a gear like this, and there's a washer here, and it rides like that on the case. But what I've done is I have ground the edge to a taper on it. Because pretty much this washer will butt up against the case and block all oil flow whatsoever to that bushing. So this is, just the top part of the case. I have, as you can see, cut this oil passage. Now, as you can see, there's a flat on this side and a flat on this side, so the bushing can't rotate at all, and it still sits firm in its place. You don't want to go too wide and get into the curved parts. Keep that in mind. And there's a whole bunch of material and meat right there in the case. So you go through and you go up the side of the case, and I just use this little Dremel bit. Go up the side of the case. When the oil's splashing around in here really fast, it'll flow down the wall into that hole above the bushing, and then go to the back side. And while this is spinning really fast, it'll pull oil in and lubricate it. Now this is just the top. You want to do it to the bottom too, so it can have a return back down into the case. Because after a while, any crap, all this aluminum dust you might not have got out from shaving it, it can build up in there and just eat the bushing. So you want to go through and clean it really good. Another thing is the axle shafts don't have bearings factory. Get some of these 6203/2RS 3/4 bearing. They are sealed ball bearings, and they fit right in some slots that are already in your transaxle. Simple as that. And you have axle bearings on your Peerless MST, because if you look at the case, you can see how rough it is. This one's a high hour transmission. It was in big rev for a year with a 6.2 spinning really fast, and then it was in little rev for a while also spinning really fast, which is why this happened. I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did, honestly. So another thing, and this is mainly for off-road, though in this case I'm running turf tires and just want to drift because it weighs 4 pounds. Here's your bowl gear assembly, and if you look in here, I've got some valve springs. Valve springs from a Predator 212 or 224, I know for a fact work. These are factory ones. I built a mini bike engine for a friend and just kept the old springs because we put stiffer ones in. And as you can see, this makes it really stiff, really hard to spin these gears. What that means is you now have a limited slip differential. Say you're driving on the road, it should still spin opposite like it should on the road without eating up your tires. But say you're in the grass or on a trail or in the mud, it'll have enough friction here that should spin both like it's welded without needing to weld it. All you need is the springs, which are it's less than 20 bucks, and you can get stiffer ones than the factory ones, which I would recommend. These are just because I already have them. And the reason you need a grinder is the end of the axle shafts, but pretty much straight on flush with that pinion in the center. So you just need to grind this down a little bit, and there's enough material there. As you can see, that's my whole finger. You can grind the top of it down and then clean up the edge on the belt sander or something, or with the grinder, and you're good to go. You can fit it in. Very quick and simple. Another thing is, if you have access to a welder, you can actually just weld all the way around this really good. Clean all the oil off, get it really nice and hot to burn the oil off, weld it on, and then cut the shaft pretty much flush, and then a valve spring will fit. But valve springs are so large, you have to cut it flush. The Predator springs are the perfect size, so you barely have to grind anything off. I'll take a clip when I get the axle back into place and show how that works and show you how stiff it actually is when it's in the rotating assembly. Okay, so it took a while. I had to clean the case tabs and whatever and put out a fire. But here's the differential assembly in. As you can see down in there, you can see the springs. And you can kind of see, you know, how much shorter the ends where those clips are. If I spin one side, the entire assembly spins both sides. Before, you try and just spin one axle like this and it just, you know, runs an open diff and just spins the bowl gear around in the spider gears. So this should actually work really good for what I'm intending it to do. Because I'm only running turf tires. I just want to do donuts in the grass, and this should be just enough to do that. So I'm going to get the rest of this transaxle together and glue it together with some nice RTV. Another thing is a lot of people argue over RTV. Like, you need to run high temperature because it's so hot. You need to run oil resistant black because it has oil in it. You need to run ultra gray because it has a bunch of, who cares? Who cares, bro? Who cares? I'm just gonna run ultra blue. It works just as good. Yeah, I'm gonna start getting it together, I guess. Oh my gosh, I didn't even cut the oil shaft and I already have the diff in. I'll do that in a minute. Yeah,